Hey everybody, Nick here, and tonight I get a review for you of this little guy. This is the Spyderco Alcyone, or Alcyone, or Alcy1. You know, I'm going with Alcyone or something. But anyways, a very interesting knife, and actually, first off, I want to thank Spyderco for sending it along. That's right, this guy was sent to me by Spyderco directly, because, well, they reached out to me. They said, hey, anything you want to check out? And actually, this guy's been on my mind. I've been thinking, you know, maybe I didn't judge the Polestar right. It's Big Brother, and so I asked him to send this along. We have to assume that this is the best QC'd Alcyone ever. And, of course, I told them that, you know, I'd be doing the good, the great, the bad, the ugly, and they were fine with that. So, here it is. But anyways, full disclosure, that's how this came across my table. Next thing, let's do a little size comparison here. This is actually not a huge knife. But if we take a look here, blade length-wise, we are actually pretty much right where the Delica is, although the sharpened edge on the Alcyone is just a little bit better. In terms of length, here we have the Ontario Rat number 2, so a little bit longer in the overall length, about the same in sharpened length. And, of course, the Rat number 1. And let me grab my Spyderco Chaparral FRN. Where are you, you little... it ran away. Here we go. And here it is against another Spyderco, the Chaparral and FRN. So, there's that. And then, let's see here, a couple of other notes. This is a Chinese-made Spyderco. As we can see here, it says China. It's made by a different factory, apparently, than the Spyderco Tenacious and Persistence, Ambitious, whatever, that whole lineup here. But it is made directly by Spyderco there. And then this is a Sal Glesser design, as you can tell from the maker's mark right here. Sal has a direct hand in that. And it is the little brother of the Spyderco Polestar, which I've reviewed in the past. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of this particular little Alcyone here. So on the good side, I do like this size. Look, I know this is a thing. I like smaller knives. They bring me joy, and in my life, they're pretty sufficient. But look, this is a nice little size here, because in terms of length, you're right under 3 inches here, but pretty uncontroversially so. Like 2.9-ish inches, no matter how angry the cop is with you, that's going to be legal in a lot of places, and so it makes it a nice option, and that's enough blade length for, I think, most people. So that's a very good thing. Next thing, the Bluejeans G10 Texture here, for lack of a better term, I do like it some level. It has a very nice top texture. What I mean by that is it's not too grabby, it's not too, like, abrasive sort of feel into it, but at the same time, you know, it's got plenty of gription. I'm happy with that guy, and, you know, from afar, this is actually a nice look. I appreciate that very much. They don't use the term Bluejeans G10, but it looks a lot like that in practice. If you're trying to get a sense of what this color actually is, it is really, really denim-like. So, there you go. Next thing, the clip on this guy, it's a fine clip. It's a lot like a lot of the other Spyderco. I want to say the Manix clip. It's a different clip than Spyderco's using, for instance, on your Delica, etc. But, you know, and I'd rather stand. But it's a fine clip. And it's got 4 position points here. So you can do left side, right side, tip up, tip down, and the lanyard holes within it, which is a nice little approach here. The lockup on it is absolutely solid. You're looking at right about 50% here. And I got to say, overall, the fit and finish on this knife is pretty good. They have fixed the sharp lock bar issue that the Polestar had, and I'm not seeing any of the delamination in the G10 that was on the Polestar that I'd had on loan, so I feel like we're doing okay here, but honestly, this feels pretty damn good. It feels slightly better finished than the Tenacious lineup, and it does actually feel better finished than the Japanese G10 models Spyderco's putting out lately at much higher price points. Whoever this Chinese factory is doing very nice work for Spyderco, and I hope they keep using them and maybe even transition some of their other projects away from the Tenacious factory into this one. And so, you know, I like this. This is nicely done. This is not it doesn't feel profoundly like a budget knife, except in a couple of material choices. Ergonomically speaking, this is very good. I mean, it's a Sal Glesser design, and you know what? That generally means great ergos. It's not quite as nice as the Polestar, namely because the clip is just a little bit weirdly positioned for my specific hand. Get a little bit of a poke up into here, but you know what? It's a beautiful thing. This feels very nice in the hand. The thumb ramp is just absolutely great here. It is very nice to unlock with this big old hole here. It just makes it so damned easy to unlock. I like this. It's very clear that it was thought about strongly by somebody with strong ergonomic experience. One other thing I'll highlight here is take a look at I mean, it's a smart design overall, and I guess that's the final good thing here, is that design is smart. I mean, the spider hole is just outside the plunge, which means that even if it's a little bit sharp, it's not going to be like, for instance, on this little bird meadowlark guy here, where you've got this sharp corner right in the middle of the hole where your thumb is rotating. That's good. You've got this tiny little finger guard right here, which kind of stops you from sliding up onto the blade, even as you're gripping on here. And the thumb ramp is doing a good job of that too, but that's a smart design. The great lock bar access is there. You've got lots of skeletonization on the liners to make sure that the balance and the overall feeling of the guy is okay, and it's using phosphor bronze washers. These are nice little details, and the overall design of this guy, having the lanyard hole in the middle there, it's well done. You can tell that this is from a very, very good designer. Sal Glesser, that is absolutely at the top of his game, and so, you know, that's nice here. And so, to me at least, all of that is the good. This is a very smart design with a lot of little touches that make it very clear that whoever did this has been making a lot of freaking knives for a long time. It's got nice ergonomics, good fit and finish, especially relative to some of Spyderco's Japanese and other Chinese models. And by the way, the old Japan were very, very good. There's just been a slump lately, and this is above the slump. The lockup is solid, nice clip. The G10 texture looks pretty good from afar, and it's got a nice legal size to it. To me, what's great about this knife, though, is the blade. It has a very nice little blade. It is CTS BD1 steel, which is an American steel. It's an okay steel, at least in my estimation. It puts ease of sharpening above long-term edge holding, but it is an American-made steel, which apparently is a really common request, even on a Chinese-made knife. I don't quite get that one, but it is what it is. But it's a fine steel. It'll work well for your everyday carry. It's not one of those that's just going to be completely dead in 10 minutes, but it's also not the most impressive steel either. I'd rather see... Well, anyways, but I digress. BD1 is a fine steel. It'll do for you, absolutely. The shape of this guy is very nice because you get some flat, you get some belly. You also get a little bit of downward curve, which can really be helpful in some cutting situations. This little bit of tilt to the blade is a nice ergonomic thing. You get a nice tip here. You get a very nice sharpening job on this guy, and it is actually very thin behind the edge on this. I like that very, very much. This is a blade that is meant to cut and cuts like crazy. And so overall to me, my favorite part of this is this chunk right here. The blade is great. So that's what's great, the blade. On the bad side, first off, the G10 here. I don't know. It looks better the further away you are from it. I dislike Jade G10. I think it's ugly as freaking sin. And Jade G10 is code for just G10 we didn't die. And the thing is, as you look closer and closer to this, it gets greener and kind of sicklier. And so you've got this little bit of texture kind of inlaid in there. You can see it's like there's a layer of that and then a layer of clear on top of it. But, it looks uniform from a distance. It looks like, jeans or something. But as you look closer and closer, it's just like, it's someplace between like a country picnic, you throw that down on the table sort of thing, and blue jeans and something else sickly. So I'm not a big fan of the G10 up close, but from afar it's attractive. But that's completely subjective. I'm nuts. The steel, I was already hitting on a little bit earlier. It's okay. BD1 it's an American steel. It's fine, but it's not impressive either. And, honestly, I'm not sure that U.S. steel on a Chinese-made knife is enough to, warrant the premium here. I mean, BD1 is fine. Is it all that much better than, say, I don't know, 8CR, or certainly than 14C28N? No, probably not. So, I don't know. I'd be much more interested in doing like 14C28N and then throwing a little price drop in this guy. I don't know. Whatever. Next thing, there is, like I said, one little hot spot, at least for my hands, off of this clip here where it's sticking up. And that is different than the Polestar, which really didn't have that, I don't think. And just different handle size. The detent on this guy, next thing, is a little bit on the weak side. You can flick this guy open, but you're not going to really pop it unless you use a lot of wrist to it. And that's not something I appreciate. The Polestar had the same issue. It just didn't want to flick well because the detent is very weak. Is it like dangerous weak? No, but absolutely it's not going to, pass the New York test. It's going to pop out, no problem there. So, I don't know. Not a big fan of the detent. I wish that were a little stronger there. Next thing, this is not a super space-efficient knife. What I mean by that is, if we compare this guy to, for instance, the Chaparral, given you've got a more sharpened edge down here on the Polestar here, but if we fold these two up next to each other, you can see that the Polestar, I'm sorry, this is the Alcyone, not the Polestar. But you can see that even though blade length-wise they're right about the same, in folded size, this one is a lot freaking bigger. So that's something you do want to keep in mind. If you're looking for something that's efficient in the pocket, This is not exactly where you want to go. Then finally, on the bad side, to me, the price is kind of uncompelling. This is a $60 knife, and the thing is, Spyderco, their budget lineup isn't really budget anymore. They've been kind of progressively shifting their prices upwards, and as a result, there's really nothing that great under like 30 or 40 bucks now. You get a bunch of really great Chinese-made knives under 30, 40 bucks. The Ontario Rat 1, Rat 2, the steel wheel cut jacks. You get anything by the Ryuki, Rake, whoever the heck they are, like this little guy here. I mean, there are a lot of really great budget options out there, and this guy is... You know, it's another budget knife option, but 60 bucks ain't budget. And as a result, even though this is a Chinese-made knife, it ends up feeling like it's not bringing the value that a Chinese-made knife usually does. It's a great design, and absolutely, you should pay a premium for great design. It's a fine knife, but the thing is, if you're willing to go Chinese-made in a steel that's okay, you can really do a lot better in terms of value elsewhere, and that's not great. So, to me at least, that's the bad here, is that the price is 60 bucks, which just feels a little bit high. It's not super space efficient. The tent on it is a little weak, so it just doesn't want to flick open particularly well. It does have the ergonomic issue off the clip. The steel is okay. It's absolutely going to be fine for everyday carry. Just know you're going to be sharpening it a little bit more often than like an XHP or something like that. And then the G10 definitely, at least to me, looks a lot better with distance. So, there you go. There's nothing on this guy that I would call ugly, though. The price is absolutely high. It's not quite too ugly yet, but any more price bumps and we are over that line. So, let's go to the final conclusion here, and the final conclusion is that I think this is a really nice knife design, and it's a really solid knife. I mean, it's smartly done. It feels like a very quality piece here, and I do love Sal Glesser's work as a designer, absolutely 100%. He is really freaking good at this, and this is another piece of evidence there. And so if somebody hands you this knife, just like, hey, here's a knife, then you say thank you, and you use it for a long time. Yeah, you may not love the steel over the long term, but the thing is, and you may be fine with it. If you like sharpening, then you're going to love this steel. But this is a knife that is absolutely good to go, and there is a lot of joy there. But the problem is, if somebody didn't hand it to you, if instead you have to bust open your wallet here, it becomes a little tougher, because 60 bucks, like I said, buys you a lot of knife. Could get, two Chinese-made knives from, Rake or Ontario or something like that. You could get a Spyderco Persistence, which is a step down, I think, in fit and finish, and I'd say slightly in materials with the 8CR, but it's also 20 bucks cheaper, which is a non-trivial thing. You can get things like the steel wheel cut jack, the Ontario Rat number 2 here in D2 steel, which I prefer D2 personally, steel-wise, but those are really nice. And heck, at this point, if you're paying 60 bucks, you're 2/3 of the way to like the FRN Chaparral or an S35 VN Kershaw Dividend. So at this point, at this price, it just becomes a lot tougher to recommend. It's great, but there you go. So I feel like overall, my final conclusion here is that this would be a great knife at the right price. 35 bucks, this would be incredible. 40 bucks, this would be knocking the Tenacious and friends just out of contention. But it's just not the right price yet, and I think actually Spyderco knows that. One of the things that got me interested in this is Sal talking about it on the Spyderco forum, talking about how much time he spent, and he expressed what sounded to me, and I'm not in his head, and forums are hard to read, but it sounded almost like exasperation with the sales on these guys. And a lot of people said, yeah, price is just too high, and I think they get it. And so I kind of expect some kind of change to come to this lineup at some point in time. Maybe they'll switch steels to like a 14C28N or something like that, or maybe they'll just discontinue it. I don't know. But for a design that spent this much time, that'd almost be sad. But look, even as it is, right now, if you love the design of the knife, and I think there's a lot to love here, and if you like the look of it, and if you can get a really nice price, I think that there may still be some very Alcyone days ahead of you. Get it? All right. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.